Hello, Veteran Outdoorsman here today. We're going to be talking about getting injured in the field. It happens many times when we're out hunting, fishing, camping, hiking. We're by ourselves and we could be a long ways from medical help. This is not intended to be medical advice. This is certainly not professional to take the place of professional medical help. This is things that could make you more comfortable when you're injured in the field just until you get to a doctor. I repeat, you have to get to a doctor. You have to get professional medical help. Once you're injured, the whatever the exercise, whatever hunting, camping, whatever, it's over. You need to get back. You need to get fixed. But in the meantime, things that can make you more comfortable. I've mentioned in another one of my videos that one time while hunting, I cut myself pretty good and I needed stitches. I was an hour or so from a hospital. I wanted to get the bleeding stopped. I wanted to get it closed, get the area immobilized, some things like that, so that I could drive the hour to a hospital, get stitched up. I had a cut on my thumb. You should be able to see it here. And I'll be able to see the scar, but I had a pretty good cut right in this area here. Right here. Took 5 stitches. But what I did was I cleaned the wound out with bottled water that I had. I took a winter cap that I had. I put pressure on it. I got it somewhat closed up. Got the bleeding to stop. Dried everything off. Pinched it closed. Covered it with duct tape to keep it closed. Covered all the edges because the duct tape will also serve some sort of a water seal, keep blood from leaking out, etc., and keep it somewhat protected. But again, you're going to have to seek medical help. They're going to put you on antibiotics. They're going to clean it out better. If you get alcohol, peroxide, something like that, go ahead and clean it out like that. But you need to seek medical help. This is just to make you more comfortable until you get there. Well, I had to drive an hour or so. I've got my thumb covered up. I've got the wound closed. You could also cut strips and make like steri strips, things like that. I don't remember if I put any type of a padding, gauze, something like that. I certainly could have. This has been a few years ago. Took a piece of my sock cap, something, put it on there. Would have been a good idea. Would have also added pressure to the wound to keep it from bleeding. Make a pressure dressing. But then I took the duct tape, wrapped it around a few times to immobilize my thumb so I wasn't moving it and causing it to bleed more. After that, push on your thumbnail. Make sure that you still have some circulation. Your fingers. If the color returns, you still get some circulation. You don't want to cut off the circulation. Have a numb hand. Cutting off blood supply is always a bad idea. But again, you're going to be seeking medical help after this. This is just to make you more comfortable, get you to stop bleeding, etc., until you get to a doctor. You get a cut on your arm, on your leg. You've got clothing. Take a piece of clothing. You can make a dressing out of it to dress that wound. Put pressure on it. You can close it up somewhat with duct tape. I've seen people use super glue, things like that. I don't suggest that because you're going to be seeking medical help. They're not going to be able to get that out right away. You may trap dirt, germs, things like that. The tape they can remove. They can clean the wound out. I know that for a fact. I've had that done myself. But that will work. Say you've fallen, you broke a finger, you broke a toe. You're going to want to immobilize it. You can simply say I've broken my little finger. I can take duct tape, electrical tape, something like that, tear cloth into strips, and you can tape it to your other finger to keep it from being able to move it. Well, maybe the injury is further down by the knuckle. You want to be able to keep from doing this. Make a splint. This is a popsicle stick, but you can cut a stick. Lots of things you can use. Put it here. Tape it to this finger still. Around your hand again. Pressure on your nail beds. Make sure you're not cutting off circulation. These are simple things to do. It'll make you more comfortable until you get to the doctor. Again, we're talking you're an hour or so from the doctor. You've got a couple mile hike out of the woods, etc. You want to be as comfortable as possible and as least amount of pain as possible. Another thing, maybe you've fallen, you've sprained a wrist, you've injured your arm, something like that. You want to immobilize that. We're not going to discuss splitting limbs, things like that. Just some simple things to make you more comfortable. You've fallen, you've sprained your wrist. You've got a shirt. I hope so. Maybe it's winter in your pack, you should carry some spare clothes, things like that. But with what I'm showing you, you could always improvise. Get a spare long sleeve shirt, get some long johns, something like that. Long sleeve is nice. You say, well, it's hot, I don't carry long sleeve clothes. Well, honestly, even when it's really hot, when I'm hunting, fishing, I like to wear a light long sleeve shirt for a few reasons. One, keeps you from getting sunburned. Two, it absorbs your sweat, then the air hits it and cools it, and believe it or not, you stay cooler because it absorbs your sweat. The sweat will evaporate off of your skin. The sun will be directly on your skin. You will not feel as cool. When you're covered, you'll feel cool. Think of desert environments. Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. They wear long garments. They wear light garments, but they wear long garments. They cover. So they don't get sunburned. Wear a hat, a brimmed hat. Things like that. It helps. So I've got this long sleeve shirt, and I've injured my arm. I'm going to make a sling. Well, you're going to want somewhat padded with this long sleeve shirt, especially since I'm a fat boy. I can take it and I've got the collar here. I've laid that on my lap. I can fold it over the excess fabric, can pad that. I can take both sleeves. I can tie them in a knot. I could use duct tape, twine, something like that to tie it if this doesn't seem to be long enough. I'm going to drape it over my head and put my arm into there. And I could actually shorten this quite a bit. Bring it up to a neutral position. You know, that's a good idea to get it above your heart, so that the blood flows easily. You know, like this. I can shorten this up for sure. Let's go ahead and do that. You're making it yourself, so it's adjustable. Shorten this up. I folded the cloth in here, so I've got somewhat of a padding. You could also put pine needles, moss, something like that, just to pad it, make yourself a little more comfortable. The name of the game is comfort. Now I've got a sling. Kept my arm protected. I could also tuck my hand, unbutton a button, tuck my hand into my shirt. That would help as well. Now, this arm's going to be useless. It's not going to bounce us around as much. It's not going to hurt as bad. I've got a neutral position, get more blood flow to it. Pain should be reduced, the swelling should be reduced. But again, it's just to make you more comfortable. If your arm's injured, your wrist is sprained, etc., every move you make, it's going to hurt. So try not to move it any more than you have to. Again, not professional medical advice, just some things to make you more comfortable in the field when you're injured until you get to a doctor. Again, my suggestion, you're out there, you're injured, do what you can to make yourself comfortable. Get your hind end to a doctor. Get professional medical help. There are a lot of people, a lot of old farmers, things like that, that have lost fingers, hands, arms, feet, legs, because they tried home remedies for an injury and it got infected and they didn't go to a doctor. And there are people that have died because of that. You do not be one of those. Seek professional medical help. If you're in a short distance from a doctor, don't worry about what I've said other than trying to stop bleeding. You always want to try to stop something from bleeding. You get to spare shirt, something like that, put pressure on it, wrap it up, get your hind end to a doctor. You should always have some duct tape with you, some minimal supplies, spare dry clothes, things like that. Those things can work as a makeshift first aid kit. Many of us carry tape, gauze, things like that with us. Maybe throw some popsicle sticks or tongue depressors in your kit. Maybe you've got some Advil, ibuprofen to help with the pain, things like that. Tampons and maxi pads, let's talk about those. A good field dressing for a cut, for something that's bleeding, is a maxi pad. It's made to absorb fluid. It's made to absorb blood. You can use that as a dressing. Take your tape, take some cloth, wrap it up, and it works. Tampons. I've seen them used for puncture wounds. I'm not going to recommend that. But what they're good for is you can kind of unroll them, and it's cotton wadding. And you can use that with tape to make a bandage. Cut your shirt into strips. I'm not going to do that because I like this shirt. You cut it into strips. Sleeves work very well. Make yourself a bandage. Just simple things. I've seen these videos where people go into how to stitch up wounds, things like that. I'm not going into that. That's a little further than what we want to do. But you could certainly take this tape, make small strips, and like I said, like steri strips, and close a small cut just until you get to a doctor. Again, cover it. Make some sort of a dressing as well. You've got cotton balls is something that a lot of people carry for fire starter. You've got some cotton balls. Use that. Maybe, again, you've got a little first aid kit. You've got some bandages, some gauze, things like that. Dress the wound. Clean it out with water. Maybe you have some alcohol. Maybe you have some iodine, something like that. Disinfect it the best you can. Clean it out. Get your hind end to a doctor. When I cut myself, I knew immediately that I was going to have to seek medical help. But I knew that I had a few hours before I could get to a hospital. I still had to get a deer loaded into my truck. Now, if it's bad enough, you leave it there. You can have a buddy come get it later. If it spoils, that's rough. But you don't want to lose your life. You don't want to lose your finger, a hand, something like that. From that point on, treating this injury is your priority. But I knew I had to get my deer loaded up. I knew I had to drive about an hour to the hospital. I knew that there was a chance that I had done some nerve or tendon damage, so that I would have to get a hold of my wife or someone else to meet me at the hospital or drive me from a meeting point to the hospital in case I needed to have surgery. I needed to be sedated, something like that. So those are the things that you need to be running through your mind. What am I going to have to do now? I had a small cut, took 5 stitches. I got the bleeding stopped. I closed it up. I immobilized my thumb. I got the deer loaded in the back of my truck. I gathered up all my gear. I drove home. It was not easy without a thumb. But I drove home. I called my wife. She met me. She took me to the hospital. I got stitches. I got some antibiotics to ward off infection. I got some dressing material to change my dressing periodically. I got instructions on when I needed my stitches removed, etc. That is why you need to seek medical help. Same thing with a sprain, a strain. You've fallen, you sprained your wrist. Many times people think they've sprained their wrist, they've broken it. You've got your arm in a sling, it's not going to heal a break. Get medical help. The sling is just going to make you more comfortable. Dressing your wound, stopping the bleeding is important. Dressing your wound, etc., immobilizing your thumb, immobilizing a broken finger or toe is going to make you more comfortable, but it's not going to fix the problem. This is just to make you more comfortable until you can get to a doctor. So, again, not professional help, just things I've done in the past to help to make you more comfortable. People have talked about how they've stitched their own wounds up, things like that. I'm not going to go into those. This is just to make you more comfortable till you can get to a doctor and you can do it right. Get it done correctly. Not a substitute for medical help. Just make you more comfortable, get you to a doctor. So, this is Veteran Outdoorsman. I thank you for watching my video. I ask that you like, subscribe. I'll be making more videos like this. I've got another one coming up about some pretty interesting topics. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I want you to tune in. So, Veteran Outdoorsman signing off. God bless you. Remember, Christ is King. And we'll see you next time.